Honorable Minister for Textiles, Commerce and Industry, Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Shri Piyush Goyal ji, Confederation of Indian Textile Industry City has been meticulous in promoting the interest of the Indian textile industry both in India and across the globe. City and its members represent the entire textile value chain in India, enabling City to become the most important link between the industry and the government. Particularly, it has got great connect with the government, which helps us to really take the industry forward in a big way. I take this opportunity to congratulate City and its leadership, Rajkumar, for the excellent work, and I sincerely believe their good work will bring more glory to the Indian textile industry. Now, the developing nations or with their fast growth rates, developed countries with already established huge markets for the textiles, and it is equally contributing the per capita consumption in a big way. Now, Asia has rapidly emerged as the central hub for the global textile industry. Despite of the headwinds, the production of the textile products within Asia is expanding rapidly. Also, the appetite for the new capital equipment has been strong and rebound within the traditional Asian textile hubs. Just at this point of time, I would like to just recall, we just look at the past 60 years, how the textile industry has grown. You are aware, Minister, that the spinning industry at the 1960s were importing the machines, and then the visionaries like JKD started the machines to give the cost-effective machines in India. Even those days, what Prime Minister's Atmanirbhar was started in 1960s, and today, if you look at the Indian spinning industry, more than 70% of the spinning machines are from the LMW. So that way, the company has contributed to the textile industry. At this point of time, when you came to Texpats also, you have asked what about the next step? What about the autoconer and the air jet spinning and things like that? We are in the process of making it happen. Now, that is where the overall technology and the innovation plays a very major role. What is happening is at this point of time, the next step today involves a lot of digitalization, electronics, sensors, and many other things where at this point of time, getting such talents in India is also a challenge, where we are now working very hard to make things happen. So today we are in this situation of the past 60 years of hard work, and in 2047, when Prime Minister wants India to be the developed nation, the time left out is only 25 years. In this 25 years, we need to really speed up with all kinds of innovation, technology in a big way. It is not only in the spinning industry, but also the post-processing, the knitting, the weaving, and also garmenting and other areas also. Textile industry being one of the very big industries, now this will contribute to the growth and the GDP in a very big way, because there is a lot of value additions are possible, and the new textiles are emerging, the synthetics are coming up in a big way, and your ministry is also identifying such situations and then making appropriate policies for that. For example, the shift, the rest of the world, 30% is cotton and 70% is synthetic. Now we are the other way around. For us to really grow in the industry, we need to really make that kind of a shift. For that, your ministry is appropriately addressing the need and then taking things forward. In addition to that, the large mega parks, the PM Mitra, which is coming up also will be helping us in a big way. So your PLI schemes are also helping the entire value chain to make a huge difference. So that way now additionally what I personally request is the kind of a future innovation where we need to not only join academia and also very large research bodies across the world in Germany and other countries. If you could, government also could facilitate the new R&Ds to come up in a big way to support the industry to make the machines in a fine manner for the futuristic requirements. That is where it will make a big difference. It is so far, everybody has spoken about the end product. Ultimately, the end product comes out of the machines. So those machines are also very critical for the future requirements. So that way, that's where the R&D and other areas we need to take it in a big way. And as Rajkumar has already mentioned, at this point of time, you are doing everything from cotton to the end product. And in the meantime, I am also requesting that on the engineering side, also if you could give a very good focus, it will help us in a big way. I just want to end this with a small remark, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rajkumar, Chairman of City. Mr. H.K. Agarwal, Managing Director, Grasim Industries from the Aditya Birla Group. Mr. Saundar Rajan, Director from Lakshmi Machine Works. Dr. Christian Skindler, the Director General of the International Textile Manufacturers Federation. Mr. Khalid Kuman, Executive Director of the Cotton Egypt Association, all the distinguished participants at the Asian Textile Conference, ladies and gentlemen. Truly delighted to get this opportunity to meet with all of you, hear your views, and inaugurate this very important 10th edition of the Asian Textile Conference. In fact, I'd like to start by complimenting you for bringing together all the stakeholders of the value chains that were articulated just now on one platform and deliberating on the way forward, particularly on different aspects. I was just going through your program, and it's indeed quite impressive where you're not only looking at our current state of affairs, but more futuristic in terms of what we need to do to rebuild the Indian textile industry, the apparel industry, how styles are changing, trends are evolving, what needs to be done in terms of innovation, in terms of a greater contribution of India to the world trade, and most importantly also focusing on digitization, automation, and making India a relevant large player in the international textile trade. So very, very happy to see this program. It's very well articulated, thought of engagement. I believe you're also going to discuss the trade agreements that we have either already concluded or in the process of negotiations. And what was mentioned by you, sustainable textiles, is also finding focus in today's discussions. So in that sense, if one was to see, as we complete 75 years of independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the role of the textile sector has been extremely important over the last 75 years. And in a way, and I must compliment you, Agarwalji, for your own contribution to this industry for 75 years. Another week and you'll be completing 75 years. My compliments to you, your team, and to the Birla family for their service to this sector over more than 7 decades. But in a way, if we look back at this industry, one can take a lot of pride and satisfaction at the achievements over 75 years. It's not very long ago that even Hindi films were made on roti, kapda and makan. If we look back within our life, many of us here would recall that there were challenges around food, there were challenges around clothing, and there were challenges around shelter that we have all seen in our own lifetimes. And look at India as we complete 75 years. I think the first challenge that the country overcame was around textiles or around clothing. Gone are the days where you would find even large villages with a problem around adequate clothing for its residents. I remember as a young child, we used to hear of very, very sad stories about remote villages or tribal areas where clothing was a difficulty. But I think the first challenge that the nation overcame was the availability of affordable and in some sense durable clothing within the country. Cotton played a very important role, as did other textiles, polyesters and technical textiles or geotextiles. The second big challenge which the country, I believe, has overcome significantly, and thanks to our farmers across the country, was around food. Save and except for one or two products, largely around oil seeds and to some extent pulses. India over the years can proudly say we are self-reliant in our requirement of foodstuffs, food grains, vegetables, fruits, a variety of products. I mean, last year, if we see, we exported nearly 50 billion worth of agri and agri-related and marine-related products. That's about 3.5 lakh crores or 3.75 lakh crores. It was no mean achievement for us that about 12% of our exports came from the agri sector, apart from the 10% or that came from the textile and related sector. The third challenge that we had faced not very long ago, and 30, 40 years is not very long in a nation's history, was around shelter. And I think in the last few years, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has taken it upon himself to focus on ensuring that everybody gets access to a good home with all the necessary amenities and utilities in that home. And as many of you may be aware, both in the rural areas and in urban areas, through the Prime Minister's housing programs, the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin or Shahri, we have been able to ensure that all those who did not have a proper home to live in are today the proud owners of a home. There is no home in the country who wishes to have electricity connection, who does not have an electricity connection today, and millions of young boys and girls who are otherwise deprived of a basic amenity like power, and whose education was suffering, whose development was suffering. Today we have electricity across the country, length and breadth of the country, in every home. And everybody has access to cooking gas connections. Everybody has access to toilets. It has been a journey of 75 years, moving from a less developed nation to a developing nation. And as the Honorable Prime Minister in his address to the nation from the ramparts of the Red Fort articulated day before yesterday, India is now moving towards the Panch Pran, the 5 promises that we have made to ourselves, the 5 commitments that we have made to ourselves, that we need to all work collectively as a nation to make India a developed nation in the next 25 years, the Amrit Kal, so that when we turn 100 in 2047, we will be counted amongst developed nations. Every citizen in this country, every citizen, every resident of India will be a proud resident of a developed nation with quality work, with quality housing, with the basic needs taken care of, quality education and health care for every person in the country. And I believe we all have a role to play when we are entering our 25 glorious years which will be the defining years for our nation, which will decide the future course of our people, the destiny of this nation. And I'm sure with the collective energy, with the collective commitment, the resolve of 1.3 billion people will take us there, will help us achieve the 5 main ideas that were articulated at great length by the Prime Minister on 15th of August. Clearly, we cannot be a developed nation unless we remove that colonial mindset, the old age thinking that the class distinctions, the distinctions within society. Clearly, we cannot but take pride in our roots if we want to be a developed nation. Because nobody who's not proud of his own history, his own heritage, the traditions that we have inherited, the family values that we all have and take pride in India. We cannot improve the country's thinking or the country's life standards unless we take pride in our own tradition, history, in our virasat, in what we have gained from the very good value systems that we have all imbibed right from childhood. Also, we need to see a country which is strong, united, and which presents to the world one single idea, the idea of India being a developed nation. And I do believe the last 3 days from 13th to 15th August, we showed the world the strength of India in our unity. Despite being such a diverse nation, we showed the world how the collective power of 1.3 billion people, all holding a Tiranga, the national flag, every home proudly showing the national flag, every person in the country participating in this joyous celebration of 75 years of independence has clearly sent a message to the world of one India emerging from the shadows of the past to become a developed nation. And of course, the last tenet that the Prime Minister spoke of, which is important for all of us, is the sense of duty, our own contribution, kartavya bhav. What are we going to contribute? How are we going to be responsible citizens of the nation? What will be our role in nation building? A nation which is free of corruption, nepotism, a nation which gives equal opportunity to every young child born in India, a nation where we break the barriers and the bondage of the past, a nation that is willing to adopt innovation as its defining feature. And I do believe the sense that I got from the panel this evening, the fact that we heard about innovation from Mr. Soundarajan when he started talking about the importance of the machinery sector in textiles and the importance of R&D and innovation. I was really happy to hear that, Soundarajanji, because it resonates very much with the thinking of the Prime Minister and our government, that innovation is going to be the defining feature as we move towards a developed nation. For all of us, those who have been reading about other nations' economic history, we all recognize that most of Europe or the US, their strength comes from their R&D, their strength comes from their innovation. And they're thinking that they'll have to keep continuously evolving to become better and better at whatever they are doing. And I'm glad that Indian industry is also looking at innovation with the same spirit. I do appreciate what you said, Mr. Agarwal, about value chains. I think Mr. Skindler also touched upon the importance of value chains. He added the dimension of sustainability. And very clearly, that was another theme articulated by the Prime Minister on the 15th, where he spoke about India's own deep engagement with sustainability or with climate change, not only today, when we are one of the principal players looking to evolve into electric vehicles, renewable energy, trying to improve the quality of water, the quality of air, but also if we look back in history, we look back thousands of years also. For every Indian, sustainability or the respect for nature was ingrained right from childhood, probably for thousands of years. He spoke about how we see God even in a small pebble, how we see God in our rivers, in our trees, in our mountains, in nature, in every aspect of nature. The Indian psyche respects nature. The Indian thought clearly values the contribution of nature to a better life, and we believe very strongly in India in intergenerational equity. We do not believe that our generation has the right to completely enjoy the fruits of nature in today's day without caring for what we are leaving behind for the next future generations. So in that sense, what each one of the panelists today spoke was very much in consonance with the thinking of the government. I do agree with Khalid Bhai that brands and brand building, marketing will matter. In fact, that's another theme that we have often heard and discussed in various engagements with the textile industry in India also. Only yesterday, a large group was at my office, and they are trying to act as a bridge between our textile manufacturers and the buyers, both in India and abroad. And they were trying to explain to me how it is important that the sentiment of the buyer, the demands of the buyer, are better understood by our manufacturing sector so that we can really meet the needs of the world and the needs or the growing needs of the Indian consumer also. But very clearly the textile industry is playing a very important role in creating jobs, creating work opportunities, expanding the Indian economy, and I have no doubt in my mind that going forward, the 5 tenets, the Panch Pran, which Prime Minister spoke about yesterday, will also help all of us in the textile industry in taking the next leap of faith, taking the next large steps so that we can contribute to making India a developed nation. And towards that end, I'm sure every stakeholder in our sector, be it the farmers for cotton, be it the various manufacturing units, both for technical or geotextiles, man-made fibers, and other aspects of the value chain, right up to fashion and exports for the foreign markets. Everybody will play their role going forward. We are open to ideas. We are looking for newer thought processes from all of you, and will hope that the deliberations that you have in today's Asian Textile Conference will come up with significant outcomes. I can only make 5 humble suggestions, which I do hope each one of us will focus on. What you said, Soundarajanji, innovation should be taken forward in a much faster mission mode and across the value chain. It can't be only machinery, but across the value chain. We'll have to look at future of research, future of technical textiles, which will all be technology driven. We have a large National Technical Textile Mission, which has significant funds available. And I'd appeal to all of you to see if you have any new ideas on which you would like to carry out research. Government would be very, very happy to support you, and particularly support you through public-private partnership. Sustainability needs newer ideas apart from what we are already doing. For example, yesterday I was told, while reuse and recycle is a part of what we are trying to do, whether we could also look at desalination, so that the entire textile product becomes free of using clean water. Whether desal could be also involved along with the 3 R's of reduce, reuse and recycle. So maybe some more thinking and costing behind that could be considered. Digitization will play an important role for traceability. We've had some issues with Egypt in the recent past. I hope with this new MOU that you're doing, we can cross that hump and reduce the trust deficit, particularly between two friendly nations. And also in India, work towards natural farming and organic farming in a bigger way with proper traceability and blockchain technology, so that what we offer to the world as sustainable will truly get us the right value for our Indian textile industry. I do believe initiatives like the government e-marketplace or the open network for digital commerce will help us bring technology to our sector, and therefore digitization does have a holistic role to play in this sector. I believe more thrust on high quality products, and therefore a focus on quality, focus on scale to get the benefits of economies of scale and meet the growing needs of the world market, as well as certain elementary products which are not made in India, like zips or the embellishments. A lot of them are not made to quality or scale in India. Could be another area where some of the young startups or entrepreneurs could come up with interesting ideas or investments. And finally, we are engaging with the world through greater degree of bilateral or multilateral engagements. We've, as you rightly pointed out, free trade agreements with the developed world are an important agenda item of the Modi government. We will continue to engage with you, have a dialogue with you, so that we can get the best out of these free trade agreements. But I do hope you will study our free trade agreements and make the best use of it. Enjoy the fruits of that wherever we are entering into such agreements. Unless we see significant ramp up of exports to these areas, we will not get the satisfaction whether we are doing the right thing. Because obviously to get market access, particularly duty-free market access for labor-intensive sectors like textiles, leather, sportswear, pharmaceutical, has been a thrust area, but for which we'll also be sacrificing or opening our markets, FTAs being a two-way traffic in other areas. So it will need a greater outcome from your sector and a visible outcome from your sector for us to be able to market to the other sectors the importance of doing FTAs. So these are my 5 messages to you: innovation, sustainability, digitization, newer products which are not made in India, and expanding quality and scale, and finally utilization of these free trade agreements. If all of us collectively can deliberate and come up with good ideas how we can expand to the $100 billion international business that I have set before you in a very defined time frame at the earliest, and have at least a $250 billion textile ecosystem in India in the next 5-7 years. If we can take that as our mission, then I'm sure no power on earth can stop India from becoming a developed nation and the textile sector from playing a significant role in our efforts. If this we can achieve in the next 5 years or so, then I think over the next 25 years, we can look at playing a very, very significantly bigger role in the world trade and contribute to nation building, contribute to jobs, contributing to giving opportunity for our young boys and girls, and truly becoming, as we have over the years, the torchbearer of a vibrant, growing superpower. Thank you very much.